I wanted to talk about the 60th Knoxville Nationals paint scheme. So I got my brother Roddy, who's at his office, and he's a graphic designer. He's a sign writer. He stickered plenty of cars in the past and all kinds of vehicles and things like that. So I thought you could give us a good insight into the paint schemes for the Nationals this year. So thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Toads. I wasn't sure how you're going to have a bigger episode than David Gravel or Carson Macedo, but you've managed.
Yeah. Basically, there was like 16 or 17 paint schemes that were new for the Nationals this year, and it's something that we get excited about. Instead of breaking down all of them, I wanted to just go through my top 10. Let's get started. So first up, my 10th best car for the Nationals this year was Sunshine, Tyler Courtney's number 7 NOS Energy drink car. If you didn't tell me it was a new design, then I wouldn't really know. What do you think about the NOS Energy drink car?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing, I guess. I don't know. It seems like every NOS Energy car, it's just got a bunch of blue shit and then a bunch of orange shit next to each other. Obviously, it's a beautiful race car. All the stuff is really nice. I just feel like I've seen this NOS Energy car before, but maybe I haven't. It just feels the same to me.
Number 9 for my pick was Brent Marks, number 19. I really like this car. His stuff, again, always looks really nice. I really think that really far away on the racetrack that you wouldn't be able to make out what's on the race car. Is it difficult for you as a sign writer to work with teams and try and make sure that it stands out from the crowd?
Yeah, that's a hard thing. I guess if you're looking at a car like Brent's, you've got it's pretty obvious that their team just runs on a bunch of obviously really good small companies that probably chip in to keep him on the road. And Brent's probably trying to do the best he can to give them all as much real estate as possible. But unfortunately, when you've got so many logos on a car like that, it just looks like a red and black car with logos all over it. I even noticed watching the racing the other night, it just seemed like it looked pretty much the same as Sam Havertake's, just a black and red car. What they've done is they've basically made all the black stuff on that car black, which always looks cool, but it just seems that Knoxville, with the track being so dark, that a car like that just doesn't really jump off, just putting more black stuff on the car.
Yeah, fair enough. My 8th pick was a bit difficult to know where to put these guys, but obviously it's 2 cars. Is Schuhart and Allen's tribute to Bobby Allen's Knoxville Nationals winning car from back in the day. I don't think they're the prettiest, but obviously that's the idea of a throwback, is to just replicate what they were. How difficult is it to replicate a car from back in the day?
In a way, sometimes it's actually easier because everything was hand sign written traditionally with a brush. What you can sort of create on the computer sort of exceeds what the guy could do in a couple of days or so when he had a brush on the car. So I pretty much have these as my number 1 because I don't think a lot of people really appreciate how probably hard it was to pretty much tell the main sponsor they're basically not going to be on the car. But I think it's a pretty good trade-off to have for the 60th and to do a throwback. And to me, this is the most genuine looking throwback, especially with the actual 1A and the way they've shadowed the Dryden on there. So, hey, it does actually have the sponsor on there. And I think that's probably a really cool thing. Dryden's probably going, yeah, we're going to get so much attention from these throwback cars that our name being as obvious as it normally is on the car is probably not as important as having a really cool throwback.
Next up, I think this was a really good effort. I know from when we were racing that we normally had our panels painted at the start of the season. It wasn't something that we really wanted to screw around with too much. I picked Justin Peck's Pink Panther tribute to Kramer Williamson as my next one. I really think that they nailed this. Like I said, the panels would be so annoying to have to paint. What are you going to do with those panels once you finish running that tribute car? How difficult is it to work with customers, or how difficult is it to get it right when there's some things that are out of your control?
It pretty much depends on the effort, and that's what I was sort of just saying about the Shark racing cars. They've gone to pretty much the full effort of making the cars look legitimate, and look like they really did. Obviously, it's always cool when you do a throwback or a tribute. I have to say, it's probably one of the ugliest race cars I've ever seen. I say Kramer himself would probably have known, hey, this isn't the coolest looking car out there, but he's obviously known for it. And I even knew of the car a long time ago myself, and I obviously wasn't from that area either. It's obviously an iconic car, and I think an iconic car is almost even cooler than a good looking race car. It's always cool to see. I even noticed they got a helmet painted too, so they've obviously gone to a lot of effort. Something like that as well, back in the day, would have all been hand signed, and from what I've seen, it looks like it's printed stickers. It's always plenty of effort, but I don't know. I wouldn't pick it.
Next up, we're starting to get into the territory where I found it really difficult to pick these cars in order, and I feel almost bad for picking this car to be, not further up there. But I picked the Roth 83 car, the tribute to Lasowski's 1998 winning Nationals. I've been to the Roth shop in California, and they have that car sitting up on their on the mezzanine on the shelf there, the actual car from when he won. I think they did a really good job with this one. As soon as you see it, you look at it and you're like, that's it, like that is that car. I also noticed that someone put pictures up and they had a white chassis, and you can see it actually in the background. I think that's a Roth car in the background of the, I'm not sure if it shows up. What do you think of what they've done there, and what do you think of that design and the nostalgia associated with it?
Yeah, I always thought that the white chassis was the Lasowski thing. Like Brian Brown's got it. Like when it was Tony Stewart Racing, they had the white chassis too, I think. I don't know. I've always just thought maybe he just liked working on a white race car so you can see everything on the car, possibly. Brian Brown is like absolutely like anal about having everything white on the car. It's kind of cool, but like I said, it's as you know, there's a lot of effort to go to make everything white or make everything black. As far as this car on the racetrack, you would swear it is the actual car. Other than I guess the Casey Kane, like notorious like big arm guard. I think this was really cool. I actually think it's like a real shame that Aaron Reitzel wasn't actually driving the car. I'm always really like checking out the fonts and the graphics and style and the way they've done it, and whoever's replicated it's done it really well. We get asked to do this sort of stuff from time to time, and the photos from like 20 years ago, they're not as clear, and as there just wasn't as many photos around of how the car actually looked. Obviously, Casey was like a late addition to the car, but they've even managed to do his name with the
Yeah, I saw that. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I think that's like that just goes to show the effort that these teams are actually putting in. I don't know how long ago they actually planned for Casey to be in the car, but someone's obviously made that little sticker up, which is pretty cool.
So next up, what did I have for number? All right, so we're into the top 5. So obviously there's going to be some pretty good ones here. Top 5.
I was just counting down because we went from 10 and then it's like we're going to 5 now.
Yeah, that's right. I'll have like a better graphic than just your hands. If you can just stick to. Next up, I grew up with this car, like seeing it here in Australia and obviously seeing it in the States. But if you haven't guessed it already, it is the Titan Speed Lab collaboration. Pittman drove this car back in the 2000s. I think he won. Did he win World Series with the Titan car? And obviously Robbie drove it out here, the 36 car, the Titan car as well. So
at one stage I had 2-car team. The 20 and 36. Drew Cruft drove it, I think, like around the same time, maybe even when Pittman was driving it. And I know they also had a 2-seater car too, and that was actually, so 21, it was like 2, and then it said 4-1. So that was pretty cool, 2 for 1.
Did you notice on this car, before we get into it, that like they even have like the same sponsor on the hood?
That was one thing I really wanted to point out. I was like, I wonder if if Darren said, hey, we are planning on doing this throwback car, and maybe they did hit up Hop and Sack to put it on there. I could only imagine a team that a sponsor and they had a really long relationship with Darren. I know even before he drove this car, that was a sponsor. So that's obviously a personal sponsor of his. So maybe I would guess that they probably were involved with they probably are putting in a little bit of money or helping out.
Just quickly, what do you think of it? As soon as I see that, same as like the Lasowski Kane Roth car, I just go, oh my God, that's the Titan 21 or 36. What did you think of it?
The very first thing that I did notice is I'm like, for some reason, it just looks even sicker than it used to. They didn't used to have black wheels. I think like obviously Kevin's cars always have the black wheels. If you ask me, doing like a throwback collab is like almost cooler than doing a straight up throwback because they're still promoting their current sponsors. If you ask me, I actually think this is probably like the coolest looking one.
That's right, if you're wrong. Number 4, I had the Stenhouse Jr Marshall number 17 of Sheldon Hordenchild. This was a tribute, again, a throwback sort of mixture between his dad Jack's car from back in the day. I wanted to ask you, like, obviously, what do you think about it? And even like things like stickers on the wing, and not just like, I know like a lot of cars just stick to the side panels, like the wing, the hood, some stickers in the belly and that. But when you have to like kind of almost wrap the whole thing and make it like flow and work across all the panels, is that like so much more work?
This car actually from the side looks kind of plain, but when you look at it from like the 45-degree angle, kind of like what you're showing me, the whole nose looks, obviously I'm not there, but the whole nose looks like it's wrapped. To make all that sort of work, there is actually a lot of design time, a lot of effort to do something like that. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's cool. NOS energy, like lightning, whatever it's supposed to be. That's kind of cool. But then I sort of, after looking at it, that was when I realized it was a throwback to the Jack car. I think it was called the Kryptonite car. I don't know if that's exactly what it was called. It actually, to me, it works great with NOS energy. It's got the blend of their colors, the blend even in the number, which Jack used to have in the 22. The effort they've gone to just to get it to look sort of like how that car did. But this is what I was saying about the Tyler Courtney car. Instead of just doing the same blue and orange stuff, this is exactly what I was talking about. Do something that is completely different. Plus, it's got black wheels, heaps of black stuff, fluoro orange. It all, to me, that is like what's going to look really good on a racetrack.
Now we're into the top three. Did you want to do a top three? Yeah. That's going to come up really good for the video. Third, I thought like this was one of the first cars I saw. And when I first saw it, I was like, is that like the mustard mobile? It looked kind of yellowy. And I was like, I'm not sure if I'm real keen on it, but it was just the first photo I saw in the morning. But yeah, since then, obviously, it's like had a lot of different views, and it is the gold version of JJR's 41 for Carson Macedo. And I just think like it just looks expensive. Like it looks like such a nice race car. I think the design's pretty similar, or like to what they normally have. It's just really colors. But I know we've had tried to have gold on a race car before, and I remember talking with you how there's like so many different ways to go about it. Would it have been difficult to do what these guys did?
Yeah, so I did have a couple of quick looks at some photos from obviously like not being there. Like I live for Knoxville and like the sprint car racing, but one of my favorite things is to actually go there and see these cars in person. I know when they did the gravel car from 2 years ago, that was fully painted. So there is vinyls out there that sort of had this look, but I from a photo I seen of the tail tank, I'm pretty sure all that gold is actually a painted fleck color, and it's like a super heavy fleck. So it's like really, really sparkly. I just think of it as like dodging car paint. Like if you ever look at a dodging car or a speedboat up close, they got this really, really sparkly kind of paint. Unfortunately, I think the problem with like metallics and stuff like that is what they do is they reflect whatever's around. So when you're racing on a practically black dirt racetrack, it's reflecting black. So there's not a huge amount of contrast with the colors. And what that ends up doing is once it's got a bit of dirt on it, it's reflecting off the track. It kind of looks like a brownie, like you said, mustard. Yeah. Well, doesn't mean they didn't put a lot of effort in, and it doesn't mean it doesn't look great in real life. I have seen like the JJR cars, and they are absolutely beautifully done. And even to the point where the graphics and the way they're installed, you can tell they've either paid top dollar or they've got a really good sponsor who's really does a nice job with their graphics. So I would say most of this car, the gold you see, is actually painted, which triples the price straight away. They've gone to a lot of effort. I think just maybe it's kind of the thing with gold. It just doesn't always represent it that well on a dirt racetrack. On the year of throwbacks, I don't know why they didn't go with the big star at the side of the JJR car with the black and white one. I thought that would have been like pretty much the go-to.
We've got two left. We're up to the last two, and I want you to try and guess what's going to be number two. Which car do you think I had as second best?
I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe the Kading one.
Kading? No, it's not in the top 10. I had Corey Eliason's Rudine number 26.
So what one's number one?
Well, we'll get to that. I'm just going to hold up.
You told me that was your favorite one.
Kading's?
No, you told me that Eliason's was your favorite one.
Yeah, but that was earlier in the week. But I changed my mind.
Righto.
Remember, this is official, so you shouldn't really question it. These guys always have nice looking stuff, and I just think this thing looks so classy. Like you said before, I told you this was my favorite earlier in the week, but what do you think of it? And also, I want to know about like this blue like pattern in there. How do they make that happen? And like, isn't that difficult to do? Because it looks like a chrome blue with maybe, I don't know, some sort of laminate or pattern over the top of it. Like, is that difficult?
Yeah, this is what I actually do love about being there. I can actually sort of break down how they've made the graphics rather than just guess from like photos and I know there'll be a lot of people out there just like me who will study photos that people have taken up close to see how the graphics are actually done, because I know that's like a big thing out here is everyone wants to replicate what they see in America. I wouldn't be surprised if we see this kind of like stripe pattern kind of thing. It's what I would call like a subtle fill. So instead of just having it as their standard metallic blue, which Rudine's pretty much famous for, having it on their cars, what they've done is they would have either had their metallic blue already down, and then they would have had to pretty much cut piece by piece with a vinyl cutting machine, and it would have been cut out of special like blue chrome vinyl, and then that gets like overlaid over the top of the regular graphics that they would probably have on every car. The only way I sort of know this is I seen another photo in the right light, and the 26 actually goes over where the pattern is, and you can see the indent of where they've laid a separate layer underneath it. It's more technical than normal, but it's not the hardest thing to do on a race car. But that blue chrome vinyl, if it is like the higher end stuff, it's really expensive. But obviously it's a really, really nice. I think the thing that really stands out on this car is they kind of went the opposite way. They went super white with this car. So, and it really does look really clean on the track all the time. Just the stripes on it are really simple and fast. It still looks like a Rodine car. It just looks like a spin-off, which I think is like pretty much nailing it.
We are up to our final one.
Right. Number one son.
Number one. All right. We have the final one, and no, it's not the Kading car, unfortunately. That didn't make my top 10, believe it or not.
I didn't think it was that car either, but you would not leaving a lot of options.
Well, sounds like I asked you, which car do you think would be second? So this is the car I had. This one, as soon as you look at it, I think this one was actually meant to be run last year, and it got released last year, but it didn't end up like happening, obviously, because Nationals didn't happen. But this car to me is like, I think the nostalgia from the World of Outlaws PS2 game on the cover. It is a throwback to Mark Kinz's number 5 Mopar car. And it's Bobby Meinz's, by the way. He's the driver, and I just think they absolutely nailed it. It looks awesome. It's not a new looking design. It's obviously a throwback. They're not designed to be pretty. Just the nostalgia of it, and I just really feel like they nailed it. What do you think about it?
Yeah,
it was my number one. Don't ruin my video.
I think it looks really nice. It actually. Just from watching the racing, I was like, is someone out there driving Mark Kinz's car? Because although it's number 15M rather than 5, it was like, it's actually the lines and the portions of the colors were so similar. Once again, I think like there's pretty much a trend of like people just going with black wheels. The car wouldn't have had black wheels back in the day. I don't think any Denton like Carl Kinzer cars ever had black wheels. So that would be the one thing that's probably different. They've gone with their own sponsors and just ripped off the Mopar logo, which is probably illegal. I have actually seen a couple of these cars the last few years, and they have been straight up rip-offs rather than throwbacks. So,
right.
Are you going to have that in the video?
Yeah, that can be in a video.
They had the FK car, the Billy Kane car.
Oh, is he that guy? Oh, whoops.
Yeah, and then they've used Chrysler's logo twice on the car and put some other logo next to it.
Well, he's sponsored by an attorney of law, so he's all good, right? So you obviously noticed more about it than I did about the wheels and that, and maybe I shouldn't have ranked it so high if it's they're used to copying cars. The one thing I did want to point out, which I thought was pretty cool, is that, I don't know if you can see it, but they had the World of Outlaws logo, but instead of the Pennzoil World of Outlaws, they did the Nos Energy Drink World of Outlaws in the Pennzoil way. So I thought that was kind of pretty cool.
I did not notice that, and now that I'm looking at that, I think that is actually like probably the coolest part. Someone has like specifically said, "Hey, why don't we do that?" Unfortunately, he's not going to get any contingency prizes because it's not the official sticker. So he's going to be really disappointed if he does win.
All right, so that's pretty much it. What did you think of my top 10, just quickly? And who would have been your number one?
It depends on how you're rating it, but the way I kind of look at it is are you doing it on like straight up throwbacks, or are we doing it on best looking car?
There's like a million ways you can go about it, but just overall, it doesn't matter what it is, who's the best looking car.
I personally, I think the Pittman car looks fast. It's a cool throwback. It's actually his car. And it's probably what he's like, or one of the best cars he's known for. So I'll be saying the Speed Lab car is pretty awesome.
All right, cool. That's it.
Thanks for having me. Maybe we can do this again sometime.
Hopefully not. All right. And is there anything in that?
There's nothing in it.
You're in the wanker. All right. Bye.